My name is Anna, and this is the story of the day I had to ask my own sister to leave my wedding. Not just the rehearsal, but the wedding itself. I never thought I would do something like that. Family is everything to me. But sometimes, love means drawing a line, even when your heart is breaking. It all started on a beautiful spring morning in Willow Creek, Ohio. A small town where the streets are lined with maple trees and everybody waves when they pass you on the sidewalk. The kind of place where people still sit on front porches in the evening and kids ride their bikes until the streetlights come on. I grew up here, in a little blue house on Maple Street, with white shutters and a swing in the front yard. That swing is still there. I can close my eyes and feel the warm breeze pushing me back and forth while my sister Beth and I talked about everything and nothing. Beth is 3 years older than me. When we were little, she was my whole world. She had long brown hair she let me braid, and she always knew the answers to my questions. Where do rainbows come from? Why does Dad look sad sometimes? How do you make Mom's apple pie taste just like hers? Beth always knew. And when Mom got sick, when the cancer came, Beth was the one who held my hand in the hospital hallway. She was 16. I was 13. She told me, "It's okay to cry, Anna. I'm crying too." And we sat there together on the cold floor, holding each other until our tears ran out. After Mom passed, everything changed. Dad worked double shifts at the factory to keep the lights on. He came home tired, quiet, smelling of oil and metal. Beth stepped in. She cooked dinner, simple things like spaghetti or grilled cheese. She checked my homework. She signed my permission slips. She even drove me to my first school dance in Mom's old station wagon. I remember looking at her in the driver's seat and thinking, she's the strongest person I know. I loved her so much it hurt sometimes. Years went by. Beth got married first. Her wedding was perfect. White roses everywhere, held in the big church downtown. I was her maid of honor at 19. I stood beside her in a pale green dress and watched her say, "I do," to Mark. They looked so happy. But 2 years later, it fell apart. Mark left. Beth never talked much about why. She just said, "Some things aren't meant to be." And then she moved back into the blue house with Dad for a while. I was away at community college by then, but I came home every weekend to sit with her on that old swing. I wanted to fix her pain the way she had always fixed mine. Then I met Chris. It was at the county fair, 5 summers ago. He was working the ring toss booth for the hardware store, where he's a manager now. Tall, kind eyes, a quiet laugh that made my stomach flutter. He handed me a stuffed bear after I finally won on my 5th try. "Beginner's luck," he teased. I smiled and said, "Or maybe you let me win." He blushed. That was it. We started dating. Slow walks by the river, picnics under the stars, Sunday mornings at the little diner on Main Street. Chris never rushed anything. He just made me feel safe, loved, seen. When he proposed last year, it was simple and perfect. We were on that same front porch swing at sunset. He got down on one knee, holding a little velvet box. "Anna," he said, voice shaking just a little, "you're my home. Will you marry me?" I cried. Of course I said yes. We planned a small wedding, 50 people. The old barn on Miller's farm, just outside town. Wildflowers, string lights, fried chicken, and potato salad like Mom used to make. Nothing fancy. Just us. Just love. I told Beth the news the very next day. I drove to her new little house on Elm Street. She'd bought it with her teaching salary. She's an elementary school teacher now. 3rd grade. The kids adore her. I thought she would be so excited. I walked in with coffee and donuts, smiling so wide my cheeks hurt. "Beth, Chris proposed!" I held out my hand. She looked at the ring, then at me. Her smile was there, but it didn't reach her eyes quite the same way. "That's wonderful, Anna," she said. She hugged me. But then she added, "We have a lot of planning to do. You'll need help." I laughed. "I know! I can't wait to do it together!" She nodded. "Good, because I already have ideas." That should have been my first warning. But I was too happy to notice. The next few weeks were a blur of excitement. Chris and I picked the barn venue. I found a simple lace dress online that made me feel like myself. We chose lilies and daisies for the flowers. Everything felt easy, light. Then, Beth started coming over with her big binder. At first it was sweet. She brought magazine clippings, color swatches, lists of caterers. "I just want to help," she kept saying. And I was grateful. She had planned her own wedding so beautifully. Of course I wanted her input. But slowly, things shifted. One evening, she sat at my kitchen table and opened the binder. "Anna, the barn is cute, but the town hall is better. It has air conditioning, proper bathrooms. It's safer if it rains." I paused, stirring tea. "But Chris and I love the barn. It feels like us." She shook her head gently. "Trust me. You'll thank me later." I smiled, not wanting to argue. "Okay, we'll think about it." A few days later, I found out she had called the barn owner and put a hold on the town hall anyway. "Just in case," she said when I asked. My stomach tightened a little. "Beth, we already booked the barn." She waved it off. "Deposits are refundable. Don't worry." Then came the dress. I showed her a picture of the lace gown, soft, flowing, with delicate sleeves. She frowned. "It's pretty, but it's not formal enough. You need something classic, structured, like mine was." I felt a small ache. "But this one makes me feel beautiful." She patted my hand. "You'll feel beautiful in the right dress. I found a few I think you should try." She made appointments at bridal shops 2 towns over. I went, because she's my sister. I tried on heavy satin gowns with long trains and high necks. They were lovely. But they didn't feel like me. In the mirror, I looked like someone else. I told her gently, "I still love the lace one." She sighed. "Anna, you don't know what looks best yet. Let me handle this." That night, lying in bed beside Chris, I stared at the ceiling. He brushed hair from my face. "You okay?" I nodded, then shook my head. "Beth is taking over a little." He kissed my forehead. "It's your wedding, sweetheart. We'll make sure it stays that way." I wanted to believe it would be fine. I told myself she was just excited, that she wanted everything perfect because she loves me, because her own wedding had ended in heartache, and she didn't want that for me. I kept giving her chances. I kept saying yes. I kept the peace. But then I found the old letter. It was tucked in the side pocket of her binder when she left it at my house one afternoon. The paper was worn, folded many times. The handwriting was Mark's, her ex-husband. I didn't mean to read it. I really didn't. But the first line caught my eye. "Beth, I love you, but I can't live feeling like I'm never enough. You plan everything, control everything, because you're afraid. But love isn't control." My hands shook as I read the rest. He wrote about how she had planned every detail of their life, where they lived, how they spent money, even when they would have kids, how he felt smothered, how he begged her to trust him, and how, in the end, he had to leave to breathe. I folded the letter exactly as it was and slipped it back. My heart hurt. For her, for him, for me. Was this why she was holding on so tight? Was she trying to protect me or protect herself from another failure? That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the porch swing alone, wrapped in a blanket, watching the stars. I thought about Mom, how she always said, "Love trusts. Love lets go when it's time." I whispered into the dark, "Mom, what do I do?" The only answer was the soft creak of the swing and the distant sound of crickets. The next day, Beth showed up with fabric swatches and a new venue contract for the town hall. She didn't know I'd read the letter. She smiled brightly. "I took care of everything, Anna. You'll see, it's going to be perfect." I looked at her standing in my doorway, so sure, so certain, and for the first time, I felt something shift inside me. A quiet, steady resolve. This was my wedding, my life, my love, and I couldn't let it disappear. But little did I know, the real test was still coming. The moment that would break my heart wide open and force me to make the hardest choice of my life. Keep listening, because what happened next at the dress fitting changed everything. And it was only the beginning. A few days after, I found that letter in Beth's binder. I still hadn't said anything to her. How could I? It felt like holding a secret that wasn't mine to hold. But it changed the way I saw everything she did. Every suggestion, every "I know best," every little change she tried to make. It wasn't just helping anymore. It felt heavier. The first real crack came at the dress fitting. I had ordered the lace gown online, the one with the soft sleeves and flowing skirt that made me feel like me. It arrived on a Tuesday morning. I remember the box sitting on my porch when I got home from work. I carried it inside like it was something fragile and precious. Chris was still at the hardware store, So I was alone. I took it out slowly, held it up to the light in the living room. The lace was delicate, like whispers. I slipped it on right there, standing in front of the full-length mirror by the front door. And for the first time, I saw myself as a bride. Not Beth's version, not anyone else's, just Anna, happy, in love, ready. I twirled once, laughed out loud like a little girl. Tears came to my eyes because it was perfect, simple, beautiful, mine. I texted Beth right away. "Can you come over?" The dress came. I added a heart emoji. I wanted to share the joy. She replied almost immediately. "On my way." 20 minutes later, she walked in, still in her teacher clothes. Navy skirt, white blouse, hair in a neat bun. She smiled when she saw the box open on the couch. "Let's see it," she said. I went into the bedroom, changed again, and walked out slowly. I'll never forget the way the afternoon light came through the window and fell on the lace. I felt glowing. I stood in front of her. "What do you think?" I was smiling so big, waiting for her to smile back the same way. She looked me up and down, quiet for a long time, too long. Then she tilted her head. "It's pretty," she said, but her voice was careful, measured. "I can see you like it." I nodded. "I love it, Beth. It feels like me." She walked around me slowly, touching the sleeve, the hem. "It's very casual," she said finally. "The lace is thin. It might snag, and the neckline is low for a church ceremony." We weren't even having it in a church. The barn didn't have rules like that. My smile faded a little. "But we're not," she kept going, "and the train is too short. You need something with more drama when you walk down the aisle. People want to feel the moment. People, not me. People." I looked at myself in the mirror again. Suddenly, the dress didn't feel as perfect. Her words sat on my shoulders like a weight. "Beth," I said softly, "this is the one I want?" She gave a small sigh, like a mother with a child who picked the wrong answer. "Anna, you've never planned a wedding before. You don't know what photographs well, what holds up in summer heat, what looks timeless in 20 years. She touched my arm gently. "Let me make some calls. There's a bridal shop in Columbus with gorgeous classic gowns. We'll go this weekend." I didn't answer right away. I just stood there in the dress that had made me cry happy tears 20 minutes earlier, now feeling like maybe it wasn't enough. I told myself she was trying to help, that she wanted the best for me, that big sisters know more. So I nodded. "Okay, we can look." That weekend we drove to Columbus. She had already made appointments at 3 shops. I tried on 10 dresses, heavy satin, beading, long trains, high necks, structured bodices that made it hard to breathe. In every mirror, I looked like a stranger. Beautiful, maybe, but not me. In the last shop, the consultant brought out one Beth had picked, a ball gown with a full skirt and crystal buttons all the way down the back. I stepped into it. It weighed a ton. When I walked out, Beth's eyes lit up. "That's it," she whispered. "That's the one." She had tears in her eyes, real ones. "You look like a real bride, Anna." I looked in the mirror. The dress was stunning, elegant, everything a magazine would call perfect. But I felt swallowed, like I was playing a part. I thought of the lace dress hanging in my closet at home. Simple, light, mine. I turned to Beth. "It's beautiful," I said, honestly, "but it doesn't feel like me." Her face fell, just a little. Then she smiled again, quick. "You'll get used to it. Trust me." On the drive home, she talked the whole way about alterations, veils, shoes that would match. I stared out the window at the passing fields, corn swaying in the breeze, sky so blue it hurt, and inside, a quiet ache growing. When I got home, Chris was making dinner. Spaghetti, my favorite. I walked in still carrying the heavy feeling. He turned, smiled. "How was dress day?" I tried to smile back. "It was fine." He saw my face, put down the spoon, came over and hugged me. "Tell me." So I did. Everything. The lace dress, Beth's reaction, the ball gown, how I felt lost in it. He listened without interrupting. Then he took my hands. "Anna," he said gently, "this is the only wedding you'll ever have with me. It should feel like you. All of it." I nodded, tears coming. "I know, but she's my sister. I don't want to hurt her." He wiped a tear from my cheek. "You're not hurting her by choosing what makes you happy. You're just growing up." That night, I hung the lace dress back in the closet. I stood there looking at it for a long time. And I made a decision. Quiet, private, but firm. This was going to be my wedding. The next morning, Beth called, excited. "I put a deposit on the ball gown." "They're holding it for 2 weeks." My heart sank. "Beth," I said softly, "I'm not getting that one." Silence on the line. Then, "What do you mean?" "I mean, I love the lace dress. That's the one I'm wearing." Another pause. "Anna, we talked about this. The other one is better." "No," I said, voice shaking but steady. "It's better for you, not for me." She sighed again, deeper this time. "You're making a mistake." "Maybe," I whispered, "but it's mine to make." She didn't say much after that. Just, "We'll talk later," and hung up. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time after, staring at my phone, feeling like I had just taken the first step across a line I could never uncross. Part of me felt free. Part of me felt terrified. Because saying no to Beth felt like saying no to the girl who raised me, the one who held me when Mom died, the one who taught me how to be strong. Days passed. Beth didn't call, didn't text. I sent her pictures of flower samples, lilies and daisies like I wanted. No reply. I invited her over to see the invitations Chris and I designed. Simple cream cardstock with a little wildflower drawing. She said she was busy grading papers. The silence hurt more than arguments would have. I kept thinking about that letter from Mark, how he said love isn't control. I wondered if Beth was hurting too, if she felt like she was losing me the way she lost him. If all of this was fear dressed up as help. One evening, I drove to her house unannounced. I brought her favorite coffee, 2 creams, 1 sugar. She opened the door, surprised. I held out the cup. "Can we talk?" She let me in. We sat in her living room. Same photos on the walls. Us as kids. Mom smiling. Beth looked tired. "I miss you," I said quietly. She nodded. "I miss you too. I just want you to be happy on your day," she said finally, her voice small. "Then let me plan it my way," I answered, "with you beside me, not in front of me." She looked down at her coffee. "I don't know how to do that." The honesty in her voice broke my heart. I reached for her hand. "Then we'll learn together." For a moment, I thought we had turned a corner. She squeezed my hand back. We talked about small things. Dad's garden, the kids in her class, Chris's new project at work. Normal things. Sister things. When I left, she hugged me longer than usual. "I love you, Anna. I love you too." I drove home feeling lighter, like maybe we could find our way. But 3 days later, something happened that made the crack between us widen into a chasm. Beth did something behind my back that hurt more than any words could. And when I found out, everything changed again. Keep listening, because this was only the beginning of the real storm. After that evening at Beth's house, when we held hands and said we'd learn together, I went home believing things might get better. I really did. I fell asleep that night with hope in my heart. Chris kissed my forehead and whispered, "You're doing the right thing." And for a few days, it felt like peace had come back. Beth texted the next morning. A simple message. "Thinking of you. Love you." With a heart. I smiled at my phone. I replied the same. I thought maybe this is how sisters grow. Slowly, carefully, with love. Then the guest list happened. Chris and I wanted something small. 50 people. Maybe 60 at most. Just the people who really knew us. Family. Close friends from school. Co-workers who felt like family. The folks from church who watched us grow up. We sat at the kitchen table one Saturday morning with coffee and a notebook. We wrote names together, laughed about old stories. "Remember when Sarah dared me to kiss you at the fair?" I said. Chris grinned. "How could I forget? Best dare ever." We added Sarah, added his parents, my dad, Aunt Linda, cousins from Cleveland. It felt warm, intimate, like the wedding would feel, surrounded by love, not a crowd. I scanned the list into my phone and sent it to Beth. "Here's who we're thinking. What do you think?" I added, "We want it small, but your input means a lot." She replied quickly, "Looks good. I'll add a few people who would be hurt if they weren't invited." I thought, okay, a few. That's fair. 2 days later, she emailed me an updated list. I opened it at work during my lunch break. My sandwich sat untouched. The list had grown to 92 names, 32 new ones, all with little notes next to them. "Mrs. Henderson taught us both piano." the Millers, Dad's bowling friends, half the third-grade parents, they love you, and more. People I hadn't seen in years. Some I barely knew. My stomach knotted. I called her after work, sitting in my car in the parking lot. Beth, 92 is too many. The barn only seats 80 comfortably. She sounded calm. Anna, in a small town, you can't leave people out. They'll talk. They'll feel hurt. But this is our day, I said softly. Not the town's. Pause. Long pause. She sighed. I already told most of them they're invited. My heart sank. You did what? I didn't think you'd mind. They were so excited. I closed my eyes. Felt tears coming. Beth, you didn't ask me. I was helping, she said, like it was obvious. I hung up and just sat there. Engine off. Windows fogging in the cool evening air. I thought about uninviting people. How awful that would feel. How the gossip would spread at the diner, the grocery store, church on Sunday. Willow Creek is kind, but small towns, remember. I didn't want to hurt anyone, but I also didn't want my wedding to feel like a town event instead of my marriage. That night, I showed Chris the list. He read it quietly, then looked at me. We'll fix it, he said. We'll send our invitations with our names only, the people we want. But the others, he took my hand. They'll understand, or they won't. But this day is about us starting our life. I nodded. But inside I felt torn in two. Family peace, or my own heart. We printed our invitations, simple cream cards with the wildflower drawing. Inside, Chris joyfully invite you. We addressed 58 envelopes, mailed them ourselves. No +1s for distant friends, no extra families, just who we chose. A week later, the replies started coming. Sweet cards, phone calls. Everyone we invited said yes with love. But then, the other calls came too. People Beth had told. Looking forward to the wedding. We're so excited. I had to explain, gently, every time. We kept it very small. I'm so sorry. Some understood. Some sounded hurt. One mother from Beth's class said, Beth told us it was open to the school families. My cheeks burned with second-hand embarrassment. I called Beth again. This time, my voice shook. People are confused. They think they're invited because you told them. She was quiet a moment. Then, I was trying to include everyone who matters. But you didn't ask me, Beth. Pause. I thought you'd change your mind. I felt something inside me harden. Just a little. This isn't going to change. She didn't reply. Just, okay, and hung up. The flowers were next. I had my heart set on wildflowers. Lilies, daisies, baby's breath, a touch of lavender, loose bouquets, mason jars on the tables, rustic, simple, like summer fields. I found a local florist, Mrs. Carter, who grew her own flowers on her farm outside town. She showed me pictures. I cried happy tears in her little shop. It was perfect. We booked her, paid the deposit. I told Beth excitedly one afternoon over tea at my house, showed her the photos. Look how beautiful. It feels like Mom's garden. Mom loved wildflowers. Beth looked at the pictures, nodded, then said, "They're sweet, but for a wedding, you need more elegance. Roses, hydrangeas, structured arrangements." I smiled gently. "No, Beth, this is what I want." She set her cup down. "I already called a florist in Columbus. They do cascade bouquets, orchids, imported roses, much more sophisticated." My heart stopped. "You did what?" "I put a deposit down, just in case." "Cancel it." "Anna." "Cancel it, Beth, please." She looked at me for a long time, then nodded slowly. "Fine." I thought that was the end. But 2 days later, Mrs. Carter called me, voice apologetic. "Anna, honey, someone canceled your order this morning. Said they were speaking for the bride." My blood went cold. Beth. She had called and canceled my flowers. Behind my back, pretending to be me. I drove straight to her house, knocked hard. She opened the door, surprised. I didn't go in, just stood on the porch. "Did you cancel my flowers?" She looked down. Yes. "Why?" My voice broke. "Because they're not good enough. You deserve better." "No," I whispered. "I deserve to choose." Tears rolled down my cheeks. "This isn't help anymore, Beth. This is taking away my day." She reached for me. "Anna, I'm sorry, I stepped back. "No. Fix it. Call Mrs. Carter. Tell her it was a mistake. Pay her whatever to get my date back." She nodded, eyes filling. "I will, right now." She did. Mrs. Carter was kind, held the date. But something had broken that day. Trust. The kind you can't glue back perfectly. That night, I sat on the porch swing alone, rocking slowly, thinking about every time I had let her decide for me. When I was little, yes, she was all I had. But now, I was 30 years old, about to be a wife, maybe a mother someday. I couldn't keep letting her lead. Chris found me there hours later, wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, sat beside me without speaking for a long time. Then he said quietly, "We're going to protect this wedding, Anna, together." I leaned my head on his shoulder, and for the first time, I believed we could. But the hardest betrayal was still coming. One that would push me to a place I never thought I'd go. A week before the wedding, Beth went to Chris alone and said things that shook the ground under us. When he told me what happened, I didn't know if I could forgive her. Keep listening, because this was the moment everything almost fell apart. Week before the wedding, everything felt fragile, like walking on thin ice over a pond in early spring. I was trying so hard to hold on to the good. The flowers were safe with Mrs. Carter. The guest list was finally ours. The lace dress hung in my closet, wrapped in plastic, waiting. Chris and I were counting down the days with small smiles and quiet excitement. We even started packing for our little honeymoon, a cabin by the lake, just the two of us. No phones, no plans. But Beth was quiet again. Not cold, just distant. Short texts. I'm busy with school, grading tests. I told myself it was okay, that she needed time, that she would come around. I invited her to the final fitting, to help set up the barn the day before. She said yes to both, but her voice sounded far away. Then one evening, Chris came home from work later than usual. The hardware store closes at 6 on weekdays. It was almost 8 when I heard his truck in the driveway. I was in the kitchen making chicken soup. Mom's recipe, the one with extra carrots. I stirred the pot and waited for his usual, "Honey, I'm home," and the sound of his boots on the mat. But when he walked in, he was quiet, too quiet. He hung up his jacket slowly, kissed my cheek, but his eyes wouldn't meet mine. I turned off the stove. "Everything okay?" He nodded, then shook his head. We sat at the table. The soup cooled between us. He took my hands. His were cold. "Anna, Beth came to the store today." My heart stopped. "She did?" He nodded. "She asked to talk, in private, so we went to the back office." I waited. The clock on the wall ticked loud in the silence. He took a slow breath. "She told me that you're not ready for marriage." The words landed like stones in still water. Ripples everywhere. "She said you've always leaned on her too much, that you make impulsive choices, that after your mom died, you struggled with big decisions, and she's worried this is another one." I felt the air leave my lungs. "She brought up old things," he went on, voice soft. "Like the time you changed college majors 3 times, the bad boyfriend in high school, how you almost quit your job last year when things got hard. All true things, old things, private things I had shared with her in tears years ago." He kept going. "She said I'm a good man, but that you need more time, that rushing into marriage might end like hers did, that maybe we should postpone, give you space to grow up at 30 years old, planning my own wedding, paying my own bills, loving him with everything I had." I sat there frozen. Tears filled my eyes, but they didn't fall yet. "What did you say?" I whispered. He squeezed my hands tighter. "I told her she was wrong, that I love you exactly as you are, that we're ready, that this is none of her business anymore." His voice cracked a little. "I told her if she couldn't support us, she shouldn't come." He paused. "She cried, said she was only trying to protect you, protect both of us from heartache." Protect. That word again. I finally let the tears come, quiet ones, running down my cheeks while I stared at the table. Chris pulled me into his arms, held me while I shook, not with anger, with pure, deep hurt. My sister, the one person who knew every weak spot in my heart, had gone to the man I love and used them against me, behind my back, a week before our wedding. We didn't eat the soup that night. We just sat on the couch, my head in his lap, his hand stroking my hair. He didn't try to fix it. Just let me feel it all. The betrayal, the sadness, the fear that maybe part of me believed her. That maybe I wasn't enough. Later, when the house was dark and the moon shone through the window, I whispered, "Do you think she's right?" He turned to me fast. "No. Simple. Sure. You are the strongest person I know, Anna. You survived losing your mom at 15. You built a life. You loved deeply. You chose me, not because you needed saving, but because you wanted to build something beautiful together." He kissed my forehead. "I'm not going anywhere." I cried again. But this time, something shifted inside. The hurt was still there. Huge, heavy. But under it, a quiet fire started. Not rage, just resolve. I couldn't let this continue. Not for me, not for Chris, not even for Beth. Because this wasn't love anymore. It was fear wearing love's face. The next morning, I called her, early, before school. She answered on the second ring. "Anna?" Her voice hopeful, like nothing had happened. "We need to talk," I said. My voice was calm, steady. "In person, today." She agreed. My house, after school. I spent the day preparing. Not with anger, with memories. I pulled out old photo albums, sat on the living room floor, surrounded by pictures of us. Beth teaching me to ride a bike, both of us in matching Easter dresses. Her holding me at Mom's funeral. Graduation. Her wedding. My college graduation. She was in the front row, cheering loudest. I looked at everyone. Let the love fill me first, because I needed to remember it was there, before I said what I had to say. She arrived at 4, still in her teacher clothes, carrying a little gift bag. "I brought something for the wedding," she said softly, trying to smile. I didn't take the bag, just led her to the couch. The albums were open on the coffee table. She saw them. Her eyes softened. We sat. I took a slow breath. "Beth, Chris told me everything." Her face changed, pale, eyes wide. Anna, I can explain." I held up my hand gently. "No, let me speak first." She stopped, nodded. I looked at her for a long time. Really looked. My big sister, the one who saved me when I was falling apart. The one who was falling apart now and didn't know how to stop. "I love you," I started, my voice soft. "I always will. You raised me when Mom couldn't. You were my safe place, my hero." Tears came to her eyes. "But what you did yesterday, going to Chris, that crossed a line I can't ignore." She opened her mouth. I kept going. "You used my past, my pain, to try to stop my future. That wasn't protection. That was control. And it hurt me more than anything ever has." She started crying quietly. "I was scared," she whispered. "Scared you'd end up like me, alone." I reached for her hand, held it. "I know, I see that now. But you can't save me from life by taking it from me." Pause. Long pause. "I need you to hear this, Beth. This wedding is happening. In the barn. With wildflowers. in my lace dress, with the people we chose. And I want you there, as my sister, not my planner, not my protector, just my sister, happy for me. She looked down at our hands, tears falling onto her lap. I don't know if I can. The words were so small, so honest. My heart broke all over again. Then I understand, I said quietly. But if you can't, then please don't come. Silence filled the room, heavy, real. She stood up slowly, left the gift bag on the table, walked to the door, turned back once. I'm sorry, Anna. Then she was gone. I sat there until dark, looking at the photos, crying for the sister I was losing and the woman I was finally becoming. The days until the wedding blurred. No more calls from Beth. No texts. Dad asked gently what happened. I told him some, not all. He hugged me. You're doing what you have to, sweetheart. She'll come around, or she won't. But you can't live small to keep her comfortable. The rehearsal dinner was 2 nights away. I focused on the good. Chris, our friends, the barn waiting with its string lights. But deep inside, I carried the ache, wondering if my sister would be there to watch me walk down the aisle, or if I had just lost her forever. The night of the rehearsal dinner arrived, and Beth showed up after all. What she did in front of everyone pushed me to the edge I never thought I'd reach. Keep listening, because this was the night I finally asked her to leave. The night of the rehearsal dinner finally came. 2 days before the wedding. I had been carrying the ache from my last talk with Beth like a stone in my chest. But I kept moving, planning, smiling, because the day was still coming. Chris and I were still getting married. And love, real love, was bigger than the hurt. We held the rehearsal in the barn itself. Miller's old red barn on the edge of Willow Creek, with its wide doors open to the fields. The sun was setting gold and pink across the hay. String lights were already hung, hundreds of tiny bulbs twinkling like captured stars. Long wooden tables set with white cloths, mason jars waiting for wildflowers tomorrow. Hay bales marked the aisle. A simple arch of birch branches stood at the front. It smelled like summer. Cut grass, wood, fresh air. Exactly what I had dreamed. Our closest people were there. 58, just like the invitations. Dad in his best button-down shirt. Aunt Linda wiping happy tears already. Sarah, my oldest friend, holding her little boy on her hip. Chris's parents, his brother, his grandparents from Indiana. Mrs. Carter, the florist, had brought early bunches of lilies and daisies just to dress the tables tonight. The scent floated everywhere. Fried chicken from the diner, potato salad, cornbread, apple pie. Everything homemade or from places that knew our names. Soft country music played from a speaker in the corner. Laughter rose and fell like waves. We rehearsed the ceremony first. Simple. Chris waited under the arch. I walked the aisle on Dad's arm, practicing slow steps to an old love song. When I reached Chris, he took my hands. We said short versions of our vows, just enough to feel them real. I promise to choose you every day. I promise to be your home. Everyone clapped. Dad hugged us both. It felt sacred already, like the barn was holding its breath with joy. Then we sat down to eat. Plates passed. Stories started. Chris's dad told about the day Chris learned to ride a bike. Sarah told about the county fair where Chris won me that stuffed bear. Laughter. Warmth. I looked around the tables and thought, this is family. The one we chose. The one we're building. I noticed Beth had arrived. She came a little late, quietly, slipped in during the rehearsal, and sat near Dad. She wore a simple blue dress. Hair down, no makeup. She looked smaller somehow. She smiled when people greeted her. Hugged Aunt Linda. Even came to me before dinner, hugged me gently. You look happy, she said. Her voice soft. I hugged back. I am. I thought maybe she had come to support. Dad spoke about Mom, how she would have loved this barn, these lights, this man beside me. His voice cracked, and we all cried a little. Then Sarah stood, glass raised. To Anna and Chris, may your life be as gentle and strong as your love. People clapped, smiled. Then Beth stood. Slowly, glass in hand. My stomach tightened, but I told myself, give her a chance. Maybe this time she'll just say something kind. She started soft. As Anna's big sister, I've watched her grow from a little girl swinging on our porch to the woman standing here tonight. People nodded, smiled at me. I relaxed a breath. I've always been there, she went on, through losing Mom, through school, through heartbreaks. I've guided her, helped her make the right choices. A few murmurs of agreement. Dad looked down at his plate. Then her voice changed, just a little sharper. This wedding has come together, in its own way, even though some decisions were different than I would have made. Soft laughter from a couple of people who knew the stories. My cheeks warmed. The venue is rustic. The flowers are simple. The dress. Well, we'll see tomorrow. More quiet laughs. Chris's hand found mine under the table. Squeezed. She kept going. But that's Anna. She's always needed a little guidance, and I've tried to give it, even when it was hard, even when she pushed back. The barn got quieter. Tonight, I just want to say, I hope everything turns out the way it should, the way it could have if... She paused, looked right at me. If some things had been done differently. Silence fell, heavy, complete. I felt every eye on me, pity in some. Confusion in others. Embarrassment. My beautiful night turning into a public judgment. Inside, something snapped. Not loud, Not angry, just clear, like ice breaking clean on a winter pond. All the months of giving in, all the tears alone in my car, all the boundaries crossed. They rose up, not as rage, but as quiet, unshakable truth. This was enough. I stood, slowly, chair scraping soft on the wooden floor. The barn went completely still. I looked at Beth, only at Beth, my sister, my heart. Beth, I said. My voice came out soft, steady. Everyone leaned in to hear. Please stop. She paused, glass still raised, eyes wide. I took one step toward her. This is my wedding, my life with Chris. You've tried to change the dress, the flowers, the guest list, the venue. You canceled things behind my back. You went to Chris and told him I wasn't ready. Soft gasps around the tables. I didn't look away from her. I have forgiven, and forgiven, and forgiven. Because I love you. Because you raised me when Mom couldn't. Because family means everything. My voice shook now. Tears filled my eyes. But tonight, in front of everyone I love, you're still trying to make this about what you think is best. I paused. Long pause. The only sound was the soft hum of the string lights. I asked you to be my sister here, to be happy for me, not to fix me, not to control this. Tears rolled down my cheeks. If you can't do that, then you need to leave. The words hung in the air. Quiet. Final. Beth's face went white. Her glass lowered slowly. Anna, she whispered. Broken. I nodded, tears falling freely now. Please, go. She looked around, saw the faces, Dad's eyes full of tears, Chris standing beside me now, hand on my back, Sarah crying quietly. No one spoke against me. No one defended her. The truth was too clear. Beth set her glass down, carefully, like it might shatter. She picked up her purse from the chair, walked toward the big open doors. Her steps slow. At the threshold she stopped, turned back once. I'm sorry, she said, so quiet almost no one heard. Then she walked out into the night. The doors stayed open. Cool air drifted in. Crickets sang outside. I stood there a moment longer. Then my legs gave out. Chris caught me, sat me down gently, held me while I cried. Not loud sobs, just silent tears, pouring out everything I had held in for months. People came one by one, hugged me, whispered, "You were brave. You did the right thing." Dad held my face in his hands. "Your mom would be so proud of the woman you are." I cried harder. The night didn't end there. We stayed, ate pie, listened to music, danced slow dances under the lights, but something had changed. The air felt lighter, like a storm had passed. I looked at Chris laughing with his brother, at Sarah twirling her little boy, at Dad talking quietly with Aunt Linda. And I knew this was still perfect, maybe even more perfect because it was truly mine. Later, driving home, windows down, stars bright above the fields, Chris reached for my hand. "You okay?" I thought about it. Really thought. I'm sad, I said. So sad. But also free. He squeezed my fingers. I'm proud of you, Anna. I leaned my head against the window, watched the moonlight on the corn, and for the first time in months, I breathed all the way in. The wedding was in 2 days. I didn't know if Beth would come. Part of me hoped. Part of me knew maybe she couldn't. But whatever happened, I had stood up. For my love, for my life, for the woman I was becoming. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and beautiful. But when it was time to walk down the aisle, Beth's seat was empty. Or was it? Keep listening, because what happened next healed something I thought was broken forever. Couldn't stay silent anymore. After the lawyer told me about the fund, I drove to Beth's house that same afternoon. The sun was setting over Willow Creek, painting the sky soft orange, but my heart felt heavy. I knocked on her door, and when she opened it, she smiled like nothing was wrong. "Anna, come in," she said, but I stayed on the porch. "Beth, why did you take money from Mom's fund?" Her face changed, just a little flicker. She invited me inside anyway. We sat in her living room, the one with the old photos of us as kids on the walls. Those pictures made it harder. "It's not what you think," she started. "I borrowed it for repairs on my house." Borrowed? Without asking? The lawyer had shown me the papers. It was more than a little. And she used some to pay for wedding things she wanted, not what I did. We talked for hours. Or really, I talked. And she listened at first. "This is my wedding, Beth. My life. You've been trying to control everything." My voice was soft, no yelling, just sadness pouring out. Tears came to my eyes as I remembered all the good times. "After Mom passed, you were there for me. I love you for that. But I'm grown now. I need to make my own choices." She got defensive then. "You always needed me to fix things. Remember when you almost dropped out of school? Or that bad boyfriend in high school? I saved you." Her words hurt because some were true, but not all. "That's the past," I said quietly. "Let me have this." She stood up, pacing. "If I let go, you'll mess it up. Like my marriage." There it was, the real pain. Her divorce had broken her. She didn't say it outright, but I saw it in her eyes. Loneliness. Fear of losing control because everything slipped away once. My heart ached for her. We were sisters, after all. But then she said something that broke me inside. "If you don't let me help, maybe I won't come to the wedding." Silence filled the room. I looked at her, tears falling. Was she really giving me an ultimatum? Everyone in town started hearing about our fight. And then Dad got involved. What did he say that changed things? "Stay with me, because the hardest part was coming." That night, I drove home to Chris. He held me as I cried. "You did the right thing," he whispered. But inside, I wondered if family could heal from this. The next days were quiet. No calls from Beth. Whispers in town. At the grocery store, people asked, "Everything okay with you and your sister?" Small towns hold on to family stories. It made me feel alone. Then, Dad called. "Come over, both of you," he said. His voice was tired, but firm. Beth and I hadn't spoken in a week. The wedding was only a month away. Dad's house still smelled like coffee and old books, just like when we were kids. Beth arrived first. I came second. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where Mom used to make pancakes. Dad looked at us both, his eyes sad. "You two are all I have left of her," he said softly. "Don't let this tear you apart." Beth spoke first. "Dad, Anna's shutting me out." I shook my head gently. "No, Beth, you're trying to take over my wedding." Dad listened. No interruptions. Then he pulled out an old box from under the table. Inside were letters. Mom's letters to us, written before she passed. He handed one to Beth. "Read it." She did, out loud, her voice cracking. Mom wrote about how proud she was of Beth for being strong, but also warned her, "Don't hold too tight, sweetheart. Let Anna fly. Love means trusting." Beth stopped reading, tears in her eyes, and Dad gave me mine. Mom said she knew I'd find my own way, and to be patient with Beth's protectiveness. It was like Mom was there, speaking through the words. The room felt heavy with love and loss. Beth looked down. "I was scared," she whispered. "After my divorce, planning your wedding felt like fixing something. Like I could make it perfect, unlike mine." It was the first time she admitted it. My heart softened. But then, another twist. Dad said, "There's more. The fund. Beth, you need to pay it back." She nodded. "No argument." And he added, "Anna, invite her properly, but on your terms." We hugged. Awkward at first, but real. I thought it was healing. But the very next week, on the day of the rehearsal dinner, Beth did something that tested everything again. Would I finally stand up? Keep listening. This was the moment that changed it all. The days after felt hopeful. Beth called, apologized fully. "I'll follow your lead," she said. I believed her. Chris and I planned the rehearsal at the barn I loved, cozy, with string lights and wildflowers. Guests were coming. I felt peace. But as everyone gathered, the rehearsal dinner was supposed to be simple and joyful. We held it in the old barn on the edge of Willow Creek, the one Chris and I fell in love with from the start. String lights hung from the beams, soft yellow glow everywhere. Tables covered in white cloths, wildflowers in mason jars, lilies and daisies, just like I wanted. Friends and family gathered, laughing, plates full of fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and Mom's famous apple pie that I baked myself. For the first time in months, I felt peace. Chris squeezed my hand under the table. "This is perfect," he whispered. I smiled, believing it. Beth arrived a little late. She looked nice, in a simple blue dress, hair done up. She hugged Dad, chatted with Aunt Linda, even smiled at Chris. I thought the talk at Dad's house had fixed things. She came over to me, hugged me tight. "You look beautiful, Anna," she said. Her words warmed my heart. Maybe we were okay. We practiced the ceremony, walking down the aisle marked with hay bales, saying short vows to each other. Everyone clapped. Then dinner started. Stories flowed. Toasts began. Chris's dad spoke about love and family. My friend Sarah talked about how Chris and I met at the fair. Laughter filled the barn. I looked around, grateful. Then it was Beth's turn for a toast. She stood up, glass in hand, smiling at everyone. As Anna's big sister, I've watched her grow, she started. People nodded. Warm smiles. My heart lifted. But then her voice changed, just a little sharper. I've always been there to guide her, make sure she makes the right choices. This wedding, well, it's come together even if some decisions were rushed. The barn got quieter. I felt a knot in my stomach. Rushed. But tomorrow will be lovely, she went on. Though I do wish we'd gone with the town hall, like I suggested. It's safer, more proper, and the food, simple is nice. But a real caterer would have been better. Soft murmurs from guests. My cheeks burned. She kept going. Anna's always needed my help, from school to boyfriends to this. I'm just glad I could step in and fix a few things. Step in? Fix? She made it sound like I was a child who couldn't do anything right. Chris looked at me, eyes wide. Dad shifted in his seat. Inside, something broke. All the months of holding back, staying quiet for family, forgiving again and again. It ended there. Tears came to my eyes, but not from weakness, from clarity. This wasn't love. This was her need to control, spilling out in front of everyone I cared about. I stood up slowly. The barn went silent. Beth, I said, my voice soft but steady. Everyone turned. Please stop. She paused, glass still raised. This is my wedding, my life with Chris. You've tried to change everything. The dress, the flowers, the venue, even the food tonight. My words came out calm, no yelling, just truth. She opened her mouth. Anna, I shook my head gently. No, not anymore. Pause. Long pause. I felt everyone's eyes. I love you, Beth. You're my sister. But if you can't be happy for me without taking over, then you need to leave. The words hung in the air. Gasps. Beth's face went pale. What? She whispered. I nodded, tears falling now. Please leave the rehearsal. And if you can't respect my choices, don't come tomorrow. Chris stood beside me, hand on my back. Dad looked down, sad but not stopping me. Beth put her glass down hard. After everything I've done for you? Her voice cracked. She grabbed her purse, walked out without another word. The barn door creaked shut behind her. Silence. Then Aunt Linda started crying softly. Sarah reached for my hand. I sat down, shaking. Chris held me. You were brave, he said quietly. But inside, my heart ached, kicking out my own sister. The one who raised me after Mom. Was this the end of us? That night, driving home, I cried in the car. Memories flooded. Beth braiding my hair for school, holding me when Mom died, teaching me to drive. All those years of love, mixed with control. I whispered to myself, why couldn't you just let me be happy? The wedding day arrived, and no one knew if Beth would show up. What happened when the music started? This next part changed everything forever. Stay with me. Guests came to me after. You did the right thing, Sarah said. Dad hugged me. Your mom would be proud you stood up. But sleep didn't come easy. I wondered if family could survive this. Morning came too soon. Wedding day. The morning of the wedding woke me gently. Sunlight slipped through the curtains in my childhood bedroom at Dad's house. The one with the faded flower wallpaper Mom picked when I was 10. I had slept there the night before, like tradition says. Chris stayed at our place with his brother. I opened my eyes to birds singing outside the window and the smell of coffee drifting up the stairs. For a moment, I just lay there, listening, feeling the day arrive. My wedding day, the one I had fought for, the one that almost broke me, the one that was finally here. Sarah came in with a tray, coffee, toast with strawberry jam, a single daisy in a little vase. Morning bride, she whispered, her eyes already shiny. We hugged without spilling anything. Dad knocked softly, came in wearing his old robe. He sat on the edge of the bed and held my hand. No words at first, just the three of us breathing together. Then he said, your mom is here today. I feel her. I nodded. Tears came quick. I feel her too. We didn't talk about Beth. Not yet. There was an empty space where her name should have been. The seat saved for her in the front row. The maid of honor spot that Sarah had quietly filled when Beth stepped back. I had texted Beth 2 days earlier. Simple words. I love you. The door is open if you can come as my sister. No reply. I didn't expect one, but hope is stubborn. It stays even when you tell it not to. Getting ready felt like a dream. Sarah did my hair. Loose waves with tiny daisies tucked in. Aunt Linda helped with makeup. Soft, natural, just enough to glow. The lace dress waited on the door. When I stepped into it, I looked in the full-length mirror and saw myself. Really saw. Not the little girl who needed saving. Not the woman trying to keep everyone happy. Just Anna. Ready to promise forever to the man who saw me clear. Dad's eyes filled when I walked downstairs. My girl, he whispered, hugged me so careful, like I might break. But I didn't feel breakable anymore. I felt whole. We drove to the barn in his old truck, windows down. Summer air warm on my skin. Wildflowers lined the country road. Queen Anne's lace, black-eyed Susans, the same ones Mrs. Carter had picked for me. Music played low on the radio. An old song Mom loved. I closed my eyes and let the wind touch my face. Thank you, I thought. To Mom, to Chris, to the part of me that finally stood up. The barn looked like magic when we pulled up. String lights already glowing, even in daylight. Hay bales lined with white blankets. Mason jars full of lilies and daisies down the aisle and on every table. Guests arriving in sundresses and light suits, smiling, hugging. Chris's brother waved from the door. Everything perfect, simple, mine. I waited in the little side room Miller's wife had fixed up for brides. Mirror, chair, window looking out over the fields. Sarah squeezed my hand. Almost time. I nodded, heart beating steady. Not nervous, ready. Then Dad came in, face pale, eyes wide. Anna, Beth is here. My breath caught. She's in the front row, on your side. She came alone, quiet, asked if she could sit in the seat we saved. I felt tears rise instantly. Is she okay? Dad nodded. She's crying, but she's here. I peeked through the crack in the door, saw her. Blue dress again, the same one from the rehearsal. Hair down, sitting straight, hands folded in her lap. Tears sliding down her cheeks, not hiding them. Dad beside her, hand on her shoulder. She looked small, vulnerable, like the girl who lost Mom, too. The music started. Soft guitar. Our song. The one Chris and I danced to in the kitchen 100 times. Sarah walked first. Then it was my turn. Dad offered his arm. I took it. We stepped out into the sunshine, then into the barn. Everyone stood. Smiles, tears, phones up for pictures. But my eyes went straight to Chris. Waiting under the birch arch. Tall, eyes shining. Smile so wide it lit the whole barn. He mouthed, "You're beautiful." I felt it in my bones. Halfway down the aisle, I looked Beth. Our eyes met. She was crying openly now, not looking away. I saw sorrow there, regret, love, so much love. I smiled at her through my own tears, small, real. She smiled back, broken, but there. Dad placed my hand in Chris's, kissed my cheek, whispered, "I love you," sat beside Beth, put his arm around her. She leaned into him just a little. The ceremony was simple. Our friend from church read a short passage about love being patient, love being kind. Then we said our vows. I went first, voice shaking only a little. "Chris, you saw me when I didn't know how to see myself. You waited while I learned to stand up. You loved me through every tear and every doubt. I promise to choose you every day, to build a home where we both feel safe, to be exactly who we are, to trust you. To let you trust me. I promise to love you with everything I have for all the days we're given." His turn. He held my hands tight, voice strong and soft at once. "Anna, you are my safe place, my laughter on hard days, my quiet on loud ones. You taught me what real strength looks like, not controlling, but letting go and still loving anyway. I promise to walk beside you, never in front or behind, to listen when you need to speak, to hold you when words aren't enough. I promise to love you fiercely and gently, today and every tomorrow." We slipped rings on fingers, simple gold bands, nothing fancy, everything true. Then the words, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Chris cupped my face, kissed me slow, sweet. The barn erupted in cheers and happy tears. We turned to face everyone, hands clasped, husband and wife. I looked at Beth again. She was standing with everyone else, clapping, crying harder, Dad holding her up. The reception started right there. Tables pushed together, food brought out, music turned up. First dance under the lights, our song again. Chris held me close, whispered, Mrs. Thompson. I laughed through tears. Mr. Thompson. Dad danced with me next. We swayed slow. He said quietly, She wants to talk to you. When you're ready. I nodded. I'm ready. Later, when the sun was low and the lights glowed brighter, I found Beth by the open doors, looking out at the fields. I walked up beside her. We stood quiet a long time, just breathing the evening air. Finally, she spoke, voice small. I almost didn't come. I waited. I sat in my car for an hour, cried until I couldn't breathe, thought about driving away. She turned to me, eyes red. But I couldn't miss this, even if I didn't deserve to be here. You do, I whispered. You're my sister. She shook her head. I was so wrong, Anna. So scared of losing you the way I lost everything else. I thought if I controlled it, I could keep you safe, keep us close. But I almost lost you anyway. Tears fell fresh. I'm sorry for every time I tried to make your day mine, for the words at the rehearsal, for going to Chris, for all of it. She reached for my hands. Can you ever forgive me? I looked at her, really looked. Saw the girl who held me when Mom died, the woman who was hurting and didn't know how to stop, the sister I loved more than the pain. I pulled her into a hug, tight, long. I already have, I whispered into her hair. She sobbed against my shoulder. Quiet, deep sobs that shook us both. I held her until they slowed. When we pulled apart, she smiled. Small, real. You looked so beautiful walking down that aisle. I smiled back. You were there. That's what mattered. We walked back inside together, hand in hand. Dad saw us. His eyes filled again. Chris came over, hugged Beth gently. No words needed. She hugged him back. Then Sarah, Aunt Linda. One by one, people welcomed her. Not with speeches, just quiet love. The night went on. Dancing, laughter, cake. Simple vanilla with wildflowers on top. Sparklers when the stars came out. Beth stayed until the end, helped stack chairs when it was over. Quiet, present, just my sister. Driving home, my new home with my husband. Windows down again. Chris reached for my hand. I looked at the stars, felt Mom smiling somewhere. Felt the weight I had carried for months finally lift. Not gone. Pain leaves traces, but lighter, shared now. Family isn't perfect. Love isn't control. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing to hold on anyway, to let people grow, to grow yourself. And sometimes the hardest no leads to the softest yes. The final one. 1 year later, something happened that brought Beth and me closer than we had ever been before. Keep listening for the last part, because this story isn't over yet. ... 1 year later, I sit on the same old porch swing at the blue house on Maple Street, the one Beth and I shared as kids. It's a warm September evening, the kind where the air smells like cut grass and distant rain. Crickets sing in the yard. Fireflies blink slow across the lawn. I rock gently, back and forth, the chains creaking, the same familiar song they've sung since I was small. A lot has changed in 12 months, and yet so much feels beautifully the same. Chris and I live just 2 streets over now, in a little white house with green shutters and a garden out back. We planted tomatoes and daisies in the spring. The daisies are still blooming. We painted the kitchen yellow because it makes us smile in the morning light. We hung photos from the wedding on the walls, the barn glowing with string lights. Dad's proud face, Sarah laughing, Chris kissing me under the birch arch, and one quiet photo someone took from behind. Beth and me hugging by the open doors, her head on my shoulder, both of us crying. That one is my favorite. Life settled into a gentle rhythm. Chris still works at the hardware store. He's manager now. I still bake at the little shop downtown on weekends. Early mornings filled with flour and sugar and the smell of bread rising. We go to church on Sundays, have dinner with Dad every Thursday, take walks by the river, holding hands, talking about nothing and everything. Simple days, full days, happy days. But the real gift of this year was watching my sister heal. After the wedding, Beth didn't disappear. She didn't hide. She showed up, quietly, steadily. The next Sunday, she came to church and sat in our pew. No words at first, just her shoulder touching mine during the hymns. Afterward, she hugged me in the parking lot, long, tight. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. I cried into her hair. "I'm proud of you too." She started coming to Thursday dinners at Dad's, helped with dishes, laughed at Chris's bad jokes, asked about our honeymoon pictures, listened when I talked about work, never once offered advice unless I asked. And slowly, I started asking, because I wanted to, not because I had to. One afternoon in October, she invited me over for tea, just the 2 of us. Her little house on Elm Street felt different, softer. The big binder from my wedding planning days was gone. Photos of us as kids still lined the shelves, but new ones too. Her with her 3rd grade class on a field trip, smiling real smiles. We sat at her kitchen table, drank chamomile, watched leaves fall outside the window. She spoke first, voice gentle. I started seeing a counselor. I looked up, surprised, proud. She's helping me understand why I held on so tight. Pause. Long pause. I was terrified of being alone again. After Mark left, I thought if I could make everything perfect for you, maybe I wouldn't lose you too. Tears came to her eyes, but I almost did anyway. I reached across the table, held her hand. "You didn't lose me." She smiled through tears. "I know that now. We talked for hours that day about mom, about fear, about love that trusts instead of controls, about how hard it is to let go, and how free it feels when you finally do. Winter came, snow blanketed Willow Creek. We built a snowman in Dad's yard like we did when we were kids. Carrot nose, scarf too long. Beth let me put the hat on crooked. Didn't fix it. Laughed when it fell off. Chris took pictures. Dad made hot chocolate with extra marshmallows. We sat inside by the fire and told old stories until late. Spring brought new life. Beth started dating again. A quiet man named Tom, who teaches history at the middle school. Kind eyes, patient smile. He came to Thursday dinner once. Nervous. Beth introduced him without taking over the conversation. Just, "This is Tom," and let him speak. I watched her listen to him. Really listen. No correcting. No planning his sentences. My heart swelled. Summer returned. The county fair came back around. Chris and I went with Beth and Tom. We ate funnel cake, rode the Ferris wheel. Chris won me another stuffed bear. Small enough this time, but just as sweet. Beth and Tom held hands walking through the lights. She looked peaceful, happy in a quiet way I hadn't seen in years. And then, the moment that brought us closer than we had ever been. It was late August. I had been feeling tired, a little queasy in the mornings. Nothing big, but enough that Chris noticed. He brought home a test from the drugstore one evening. Eyes soft, hopeful. "We don't have to," he said, "but if you want." I took it upstairs, waited, watched 2 pink lines appear, clear and strong. I walked downstairs, crying happy tears. Showed him. He picked me up, twirled me gently in the kitchen. We laughed and cried and called Dad, called Sarah, made plans to tell everyone in person. But the first person I wanted to tell was Beth. I drove to her house the next afternoon, heart pounding. She was in her garden, pulling weeds in old jeans and a sun hat. Looked up when I pulled in, smiled, waved me over. I sat on the porch steps. She sat beside me, wiped dirt from her hands. "I have something to tell you," I said, voice shaking with joy. She waited. No questions, just present. I took her hand, placed it on my still flat stomach. "I'm pregnant." Her eyes went wide, then filled instantly. "Anna." She whispered my name like a prayer, pulled me into the biggest hug. We sat there on the steps, crying together, happy tears soaking each other's shirts. Later, inside over lemonade, she said quietly, "I get to be Aunt Beth." I nodded. "The best Aunt Beth." She laughed through tears. "I'll try not to plan the baby's whole life." We both laughed then. Real, deep laughter that healed the last small cracks. She asked gentle questions. Due date? Feeling okay? Boy or girl ideas? Listened to every answer. Then she said, "Whatever you need, I'm here. No strings, just love." I believed her, with everything in me. Now, here on the swing a month later, I rock slowly. hand on the small curve that's just starting to show. Chris is inside with Dad, fixing a leaky faucet. Beth is coming over soon with Tom. They're bringing dinner. Lasagna, her recipe, the one Mom taught her. I look out at the yard, see the place where we used to play wedding, with old sheets for veils. Beth, always the bride, me the flower girl. She always planned everything, and I let her, because I loved her, because she was my safe place. But love grows up. It learns to share the planning, to trust, to let go, and when it does, it comes back stronger. Sometimes the people we love hurt us the deepest, not because they stop loving, but because they love too hard in the wrong way. And sometimes we have to stand up, say no, draw the line, even when our voice shakes, even when it breaks our heart. Because real love isn't control. Real love is freedom, space to become who we're meant to be, and then choosing to stay anyway. I kicked my sister out of my wedding that night in the barn, not because I stopped loving her, but because I started loving myself enough to protect what was mine. And in doing that, I gave her the chance to find her way back. Different, better, whole. Family isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up after the hard conversations, after the tears, after the silence. It's about forgiving, growing, choosing each other again and again. The screen door creaks open. Chris steps out, smiles at me in the twilight, sits beside me on the swing, puts his arm around my shoulders, hand resting gentle on my belly. We rock together, quiet, content. Headlights turn onto Maple Street. Beth's car. She and Tom wave as they park. Bring out the lasagna dish warm in a towel. Laugh about something in the driveway. Dad comes out to greet them. Hugs all around. I watch them walk up the porch steps. My sister's face glowing in the soft light. Eyes meeting mine. Smiling real. Free. And I know this is the happy ending. Not perfect, but true. The kind that comes after the storm. The kind that stays. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of your own family, your own hard choices, your own quiet victories, thank you for listening all the way to the end. This was my true story. From the tears in the barn to the joy on this swing tonight. Love deeply, speak truthfully, forgive slowly, and always, always leave the door open for healing. This was my true story. Subscribe for more grandma stories.